welcome to the Master Your Moment podcast. I'm Leslie, guiding you into mental, physical, and emotional wellness. And I'm so excited today because I have Nellie Harden here with me, and she is from the 6570 Family Project, helping teens and tweens, daughters. And Nellie, I want you to just go ahead and tell me all about yourself and what your family project is and what you're trying to do in the world.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here. And yeah, so the 6570 Family Project is all about building foundations of worth, esteem, and confidence in your daughters before they leave home so they're equipped for the world. And I mean, that's just kind of a gist of where it is, but where it really came from was I was a young woman myself that really didn't have this foundation built. I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and we just didn't know as much back then necessarily and I certainly didn't, even though, my background now is in biology and psychology. But when I was 17 years old, I did not know. And so when I left home to go to college at 17 and didn't have this foundation built within me, then I ended up chasing worth everywhere I could find it, which is where I really see a lot of young women today. I see a lot of adult women today as well. Without this foundation, you end up chasing your worth. And that is a very dangerous place for many people to be in, whether that be in a job or in a relationship or in some sort of award you're chasing, a sport you're chasing, right? You get so wrapped up in it and your entire identity is wrapped up in that worth circle. You're like, if I don't do this, I am not worthy. And so myself and the effects that had on me led me down some dangerous paths that I ended up having to spend decades of my life recovering from. That in the midst of that, I had 4 daughters. And so here I am in the midst of my own healing journey. And now I had 4 daughters within 4 years. And so, which is a whole, other crazy realm of things right there. I had twins in the middle. So, there was this moment I remember I had a 4-year-old, 2 2-year-olds, and a newborn. And I'm like, okay, I have a very unique, literally once in a lifetime opportunity right here to help mold and guide these young women to be equipped before they leave home. How am I going to do it? Right. And so I was, like I said, on my own healing journey and building this foundation. And then I was able to and for me, it was reactive and in adult, at which my brain was already, pretty fully developed. My plasticity, my neuroplasticity is a lot more rigid at that point. Versus I have these beautiful blossoming young women with a brain that is forming that I can do this in. So I work both in the reactive and the proactive space in building this foundation. And this foundation, I was just literally reading a book this morning and they were talking about the foundation, oh, you need a proper foundation, you need a strong foundation, you need a firm foundation, but no one ever really tells you what this foundation is. And so that's the work that I do, is not only what is it, but how do you build it? And even more so, how do you build it for your specific self or your specific daughter? Because every one of us is very unique and different. So we can't all have the same foundation or the same platforms. They're all built uniquely to us. And that is the work that I get to do today. So that's a bit of an overall synopsis.
Right. Well, I know the 6570, or do you say 6570? That
Yeah.
number, like that came from, that's how many days, is it how many days that you
Yep.
have to build your child? And I think that is like a really amazing concept because it's very unique into sort of like the same kind of intentional philosophy that I have through mastering your moment. You have
Yeah.
this moment, these many days allotted of this time to help mold your children. How are you going to do that? What are you going to do to make sure that happens? So I just think that's a really cool concept.
Yeah, and the 6570, so yes, that is 6,570 days in 18 years. Now, I never want anyone to get lost in the fact that, does that mean you wash your hands? You're like, I'm not a parent anymore. I graduated, right? No, of course not. But it is a very big transition. We go from being their primary impactor, primary influencer, and to then being more of a consultant, right? But there's this period, I call it being in the bay, if you will. So, we're building this thing for them. We're teaching them how to be in the boat. We're taking them back and forth all throughout the 65, 70. And then there's this period between the 65, 70, aka 18 years, and all the way up to the 91, 25, which is 25 years, that they're in the bay. They're out there. You can see them, right? You can help them. They can come back frequently. And you're still there, but they're out there on their own. And then after that, they really set off on their own adventures. Now, of course, these days are not set in stone. Like I mentioned myself, I left home at 17. So I had less than 65, 70 at home, and I then moved 7 hours away. So, it's different for everybody, but in general, these are some really big milestones and transition periods that we can look at. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the foundation or an overview of what you would consider having a good foundation. Are there
Yeah.
specific areas that someone would need to focus on?
I mean, absolutely. And, I mentioned earlier, I'm writing a book right now. So, the book will have all of this in it that I can't cover
Yeah.
in just, our few minutes here. But, a general 35,000 foot view, so to speak, would be just like I live in a neighborhood where there's houses being built. We've all seen, buildings, houses, etc., being built. And so down below, right, we need to have physiological needs and security. Security is so, so, so important. I mean, if your child comes in and they're scared, or if you are scared about anything, your frontal cortex goes offline. In our kids, this is already offline. And so they need to be able to calm themselves in order to use what they do have in order to think logically. You can't do that under stress. And if you don't feel like you're secure in your home, your relationships, your town, your world, then you're always on edge and you can never think logically to move forward. So security is really, really important. Okay, and then we get to the bedrock. Every foundation needs to be put on a firm bedrock. I live out at the ocean in coastal North Carolina. We have a lot of sand. And so when houses are being built, they need to go down deep in order to get to something concrete enough, so to speak, that they can put the foundation on, because we do have so much sand here. Shifting sands are going to be broken foundations. And so the bedrock that you have is it's a combination of 4 understandings, and that is understanding. And again, if you're a parent raising a daughter, these are understandings of your daughter that you have and you're helping her understand. And if you're an adult woman, these are understandings you have of yourself. But it is understanding of your biology, right? What is actually happening? What stage of brain function are you at right now? And understanding that, because it's really easy to look at young women and young men too and be like, oh, they're just shorter versions of adults. And that could not be further from the truth. They are literally biologically, physiologically different and in brain function. So understanding where things are in brain function is very important. So that's the biology piece. The psychology piece is, how do they receive information from the world? How do they put out information to the world? How do they interact with the world? That is different for every single person. And I have 4 daughters, and I call them 4 corners of a square, because every single one is so, so
So
different.
different.
Even the twins. And so understanding how they relate to and take in and put out into the world is very important. And then the other understanding is a faith piece. Where are they in a faith and spiritual journey? Is there something beyond them that they are looking for and looking at and relying on and finding some root in, right? And then there's culture. So biology, psychology, faith, and culture. And culture is really, really important because we want to be in the world, but not of the world. We want to be out there and not just following every single trend that is out there, right? And so we need to understand the world, but not be led by the world. And so these are four core understandings that really make up this bedrock that the foundation needs to be on. And
Ah,
then
that
the
is so interesting.
yeah. And then the foundation itself is made up of worth, and that has five pillars right there that we could
Mhm.
dive into a little bit. And then esteem has to go on top of worth. You cannot have self esteem, which is value and appreciation of yourself, without having a sense of worth, right? Because if I'm not worthy, I certainly cannot appreciate myself. I certainly cannot find value in myself. And that layer right there is really made up of learning how to trust yourself. And that brings in some beautiful thought cycles that are already happening. Every single one of our actions goes through a thought cycle. But how can I use that for my benefit? How can I use that to grow into the person I'm trying to become? That's where that trust comes in and esteem. And then on top of that is confidence or true belief in yourself, not inflated, not, I was just talking with someone, the movie Mean Girls came out, earlier
Mhm.
this year. There's a lot of inflated egos in, that, and that does not equal confidence. Those are two different things. In fact, an inflated ego is often a very big neon sign of no self-worth. And so
Exactly.
we want to build true confidence. And then at the top on the precipice of all of this is then becoming a self-disciplined leader of your life. And so that is a 35,000-foot view of what this foundation looks like so
Yeah.
that their life can really start being built on top of this foundation.
Wow, that is incredible. It's very in depth. I can see how you're gonna need a book to explain all of this. So I think that's awesome. Um, well, today I really wanted to focus in on hope. I'm going to be creating a
Yeah.
lot of materials and things on hope because hope is something that is a foundational kind of character that we all really need in our lives. And you're talking about your self-worth and your self-esteem and the confidence and the trust that you need to have in yourself. And all of those stem from having some sort of hope in your life. So, how do you see hope play a what does hope mean to you, and how do you see it play a role in what you are trying to do and accomplish?
Well, I always like to start with the end in mind and work backwards. That's how I've built everything that I have. And when you hear someone say it's hopeless, right? Meaning we come to the end of the line of hope, it means there's nothing else to do, right? There's nothing more that can be done. It's hopeless. And so working backwards, then, as long as you always have something more that you can do, there's always hope. And not to mention, we are on a conveyor belt of life. The constant is change in life. And humanity, each person individually, each relationship, each community and culture as a whole is always changing. And we can rely on that in a positive way and therefore know there is always hope. And in our country right now, I live in the US. For any
Mhm.
listeners, in our country right now, some people would say, oh, we've lost all hope. Oh, my goodness, no. There is so much
Right.
hope for a beautiful future because we are always developing and growing, and we can develop and grow into better people. That is our choice, right? And so, just taking a family that's raising a child right now, I had some clients that are like, oh, I'm just, it's hopeless. I tried to talk to her about this. I tried to do this. It's hopeless. And I get on, I'm like, oh, no, there's so much hope. There's so much hope because you know what? Here are just the next five things that we can try right now, today. And then we'll see how these go and what roads that we go down. So as long as there is a next step to take what is it, Elsa and Anna and Frozen 2, just do the next right thing. I love that song, right? Just do the next right thing. As long as there is a next right thing to do, then there is hope. Absolutely.
Yeah. So how do you see that? Like when you feel like you have gotten to that point where you're hopeless and you don't know what is the next thing, how do you figure that part out?
For me personally, my family and I were a Christian family, so we go back to, okay, I'm going to get in the Bible and I am going to read, and I know that there is hope. And you know why? Because I'm still breathing, right? If I wake up and there's breath in my lungs, then I know that I have purpose in that day. And if I have purpose in that day, that means I need to move forward and not just stay stuck in my hole of despair, right? There's
Yes.
something or someone out there that needs my help or my work or my words or just my presence today. And I know that because I'm here, right? If I have breath in my lungs, I have work to do, and positive, beautiful work to do, and believing in, and that's,
Yeah.
this foundation again, understanding that, then if I know that I have worthy, I know that I am heard, seen, loved, belong, and have purpose through him who creates me. And so I know that I can go and do the next thing. I don't need to sit and wallow. So, and there's been so many people in so much harder situations than I have been in over, the centuries of humanity. And reading some of those stories, being inspired by other people is a great tool to use to know, hold on, there's hope. There's a woman recently that I know of that was pregnant with her third child, and she's a friend of a friend. She went in, she ended up having a blood poisoning. She lost all four of her appendages, no arms, no legs, and she has a brand new baby at home, and she's in her 30s, right? And she is out there smiling in her new wheelchair, and she is, finding ways to hold her little baby boy. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. She is smiling. I can smile, and I can smile with her.
Yeah. So that's sort of two techniques there. One is that knowing that if you have breath in your body, then you have a purpose in your life, even if that is to make a connection with another person, to just do your ordinary chores that day, whatever it is, you still are going to have some kind of purpose. You may not even know what it is or how that's going to develop or impact anybody else in your life, but just getting up and doing something or taking some kind of action can give you that purpose. And the second thing that you mentioned was finding ways to be inspired by others and
Mm-hmm.
listening to other people's stories. So those are two really, really amazing strategies and coping mechanisms that people can use to find hope in their lives. Um, so what specifically maybe have you seen through parents and the clients that you've had and their struggles with hope? When they come to you, are they struggling
Yeah.
with hope in their kids? Typically they are because they're in some kind of um problem or pain, like I don't know what I'm doing or I don't know how to support them.
Right. And I get clients that just want to be proactive. They're like, things are going well right now, and I want to make sure we are set up for success going forward. So I want to learn all the techniques now so I have them when I'm in the problem, which is great. I wish
Really
everybody would
awesome.
come to me then. It's so great. I just want, I'm like, can I hug you? I want to hug you. And just give you a pat on the back. But yes, many people are not problem aware until their kids are, 11 plus, right? And then they're like, oh, hold on. I thought I had a handle on this. I thought we could just, move past this, but we can't. And now she's locked herself in the room. She's wearing all black. She's listening to terrible, music for her. She's getting bad grades. I mean, etc. Could be all of those, could be one of those, could be none of those, and something else. But yes, I definitely, get parents that are much more problem aware. And here's the thing, you need another perspective. And this would be, technique number 3. You need another perspective when it comes to that, because you are so wrapped around the problem and so immersed in, it's like this very dark blanket that has covered you, that you don't see the light anymore, right? And we don't mean to do that. It's not our intention to do that. It's just our nature. And we love our kids so very much that we are wrapped. They're hurting, we are hurting. And then we fail, and that's okay to fail. I want to point that out. Every success has, like, every road to success is paved with failure. So it's okay to fail as a parent. It's okay to fail as a person. But we fail then to be able to help them find a light out. We don't have the tools and mechanisms yet. We weren't equipped for the situation that we're going through. So finding a resource, whether that is a coach or a therapist or listening to your podcast or whatever that is, finding some sort of outside resource to breathe some light into the situation is really imperative. And that's where I get to come in and give, techniques, get to know that child, get to know that parent, that relationship, that dynamic. Okay, so for this specific child, this is where we need to know, or where we need to go. She needs to know her worth in this and this and this and this way. And that's where we start from.
Yeah, that's really, really awesome. Um, do you have like a personal story or a client who you coached through this process, and like a success story that came out of that, and something that was inspiring or hopeful to them?
Yeah, I mean, off the top of my head, I'm just thinking. So there was a young woman that moved, and with her family, and so she was at that very vulnerable age, right at sixth grade. She moved, and then she, of course, and it was hours away, so she lost any of those root relationships that she had invested years of her life in, all that she had known, and now she was in a new environment. And all of those people around her, well, she felt that they already had long-term relationships. Where in the world do I fit in? And it really made her turn inward on herself. And her parents started seeing her, she used to do sports, she used to want to do music, she used to be in extracurriculars, and now she doesn't want to do any of that. And I know she's shy, maybe going into a new environment, but how in the world can we help her, right? And so that really just took us going in and asking her, and okay, let's use the word. Her name wasn't Julie, but we'll use the name Julie,
Okay.
just to save her identity there. So anyway,
Right.
it really took us working together, myself, the parents, and her, to ask her, what is it that you are looking for and not finding right now, right? So you have to identify before you can move forward. And so she was saying, I'm just looking for someone to smile at me, right? And then, okay, if you want someone to smile at you, what is something you can do that is in your control when you walk into your school? Because if she's walking in, which she was walking into school with her head down like this, all closed off, she is not going to get anyone to smile at her.
Yeah.
But honestly, even if someone was, she wouldn't even see it because she was so
Mhm.
closed off, right? So we really talked about, okay, what is in your control that you can do in order to get the response that you're looking for and maybe start to grow a relationship. And so we talked about her body posture, right? Opening herself up, starting conversations, how to start those conversations, and just starting with a smile herself. You do to others as you want them to do to you, right? And she was
Mhm.
looking for something, but she wasn't willing to give it because she was, in this shy space right now. So that's, that was, how can you be seen? How can you be heard, right? These are pillars of worth right here. And then making sure at home, I'm not looking for her to be loved out at her school in sixth grade,
Right.
but in her home, how can she know without a question that she is loved? So we really talked about starting one-on-one time with the family, right? So I think dinner time is great. I think having family time is great, but one-on-one time with one parent, one child is
Yes.
really an imperative time that
It
you
is.
can have. And it's something that she can rely on. Okay, so it's not that I'm only going to have one on one time with dad when he's upset with me or I did something wrong or
Mhm.
there's a bad conversation that needs to be had. I have one on one time with mom or dad every single week on Tuesdays at 8 o'clock. And we play, we joke, we laugh, we watch funny videos. Sometimes we have to have hard conversations, right? Whatever that is at home. So to make sure that she knows and feels that love from home and she belongs there. It's really important to know that she belongs. And that belonging somewhere really takes presents taking on responsibility. So as much as your kids will like moan and groan about chores, taking on household chores is really a beautiful way of showing you belong here. Not you're the only one with a chore while we sit down
Mhm.
and watch you and, clap from the sidelines. No, no, no. Everybody has chores because we all belong here and this is our home and we need to take care of it. And so that's a really easy way that you can do that too. And then the last pillar of worth is purpose. And so helping her see what is something that is happening later on. And she had a field trip to a water park that came up at the end of the year that she was looking forward to, albeit 6 months away, 5 months away at the time. And so I'm like, okay, put it on the calendar, right? You have something that is coming up. What are some things before that, right? She had some big projects and what have you. Just helping them understand I'm going forward. I have a purpose. I am moving in a direction because there's something out there that I want. And those are really some really basic ways where we were able to start with her and she was able to really blossom in her new school and it was beautiful.
Oh, that's really, really awesome. It reminds me, honestly, of my own daughter because I have a 16-year-old daughter too.
Okay.
And she is extremely shy. And even though she hasn't moved to schools, she's been at the school she's at, and it's really, really tiny. And there's only basically two classes in her whole entire grade. So
Hmm.
coming from kindergarten all the way, she's fixing to be in 11th grade this year. She made like one good friend, but she wants to make really deep friendships.
Yeah.
And so she has a hard time understanding, and because she's also on the autism spectrum, she's just a little bit socially different, I guess you could say.
Hmm.
Um and she wanted to have these deep, close, intimate relationships, but they weren't those kind of people at the
Right.
school. Like they're not in her classes. She can't find someone that has the like same similar interest or things, of that nature. So she's had to find her place in other avenues. And while I'm
Mhm.
the parent that's like stressed out about it, like, oh my gosh, I work at the school too. Like, is she not talking to someone? She isolates herself by reading, like you were talking about. She'll walk down the hall, she isolates herself by reading, and we have conversations every week, every day, almost about like what is your next step, how to move forward, and trying to instill some of these kind of foundational tools that you're sharing
Yeah.
with her. Because I have a therapist background, I already kind of know, but trying to nurture that and build her to realize you don't have to have these deep friendships. You can just have an acquaintance, and you have to learn how to socialize in different ways and at different avenues. And you could socialize at school and it just be just that moment, and it doesn't have to be a
Right.
big deal. But then when she's at home, she's flourishing, and well, I say flourishing, she's introverted, so she stays in her room a lot, but she has a group of friends online, and they play video games together and talk. And it's from someone it's not like they were just online friends. She knew them like in person before her best friend moved to Alaska. And so
Oh, wow.
they've had to just sort of connect online instead, in that way. So she's really happy, but I have to figure out a way to, like, in some ways, come to an acceptance about who she is, what she wants in life, how she is still happy and she's not doing anything that's, um, bad or like not of something that we value, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And just hearing you talk too, I used to work with a program in Brene Brown's vulnerability space, and I just remember she really talked about how there's a 1 inch by 1 inch square piece of paper, and that piece of paper with not writing microscopically, that you can fit the people that are your true people on that piece of paper. There might be one, there might be up to five, but usually it's going to be 1 to 3 people. And that's really it. And that's over, a lifetime. And so I think you hit, a very vulnerable spot for our teens today. And, I have a 19-year-old, two 16s, and a 14. And they do feel like, thank you to every single, movie and show that's out there, that when you are growing up, you have these absolute best friends that you then have for the rest of your life. And if you don't meet them when they're six, then you're out of luck or what have you, or, these best friend 16-year-olds, how many shows have that trope of the best friend
Mhm.
16-year-old girls, right? And so trying to help them understand that, we as adults, how many people do we keep in touch with from middle school and high school? It's usually
Yeah,
not that many, if at
exactly.
all. Maybe with Facebook today, there might be like, oh yeah, I remember you, you did that or what have you. But really keeping up and having those close, intimate relationships with people is very, very rare. Yet the world is telling them it's not rare at all. In fact, you have to have it in order to be worthy and counted as worthy at this age. So that constant, connection, communication, and bringing clarity into their lives as their primary impactors and
Mhm.
influencers during this time period is absolutely essential. And I mean, you're doing the right thing in helping her find other avenues to find their people and having those conversations of, the people at school are just your people to be kind to, right? In our house, we have one rule. It is rocks. It is respect, obedience, compassion, kindness, self-discipline. That is our only rule in our house because it really encompasses everything. So when I talk to my girls about kids at school, and my girls have also gone to a very small school, so I get that as well.
Yeah.
And you're with these people for years at a time, and it's
Mhm.
intimate, space and in classrooms and what have you. Just use rocks, get through the day, be kind and respectful, but they don't have to be your best friends you share everything with, and that will come sometime in your life, even if it's not in this season. But that's why
Exactly.
we're here. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And
Mm.
and I tell her, like she is the sweetest, kindest kid. And I tell her all the time, like, by you isolating yourself in that manner, you're keeping other people from seeing that kindness or feeling that
Yeah,
kindness and sweetness from you that they may need in their life. So those are the ways that I'm
absolutely.
trying to like push her and build her confidence up to make those kinds of
Yeah.
conversations. But have hope next year that she's gonna be going to a different school. Well, it's like our school, but like there's a separate school that moves other students from our district together so that they can take more advanced classes and college classes and stuff like that. So
Okay.
she's going to be going to that school, and so she'll meet new people. And she's kind of nervous about it, but I'm excited about it because I think that exposure will be really well, work really well for her.
Absolutely. And she might not find her, best friend in there either, but
No.
she will have a bigger pool of people that she can bless.
Yes.
And that is, and giving her purpose and how can I serve them today is, I mean, waking up with that mentality every day. How can I serve the world today? Or how can I serve those
Mhm.
around me today is really, really powerful.
It is, and that helps a lot. Okay. Well, we've talked a lot. What are some of your key takeaways from our discussion that you would like to share with our listeners? Maybe specific strategies or a specific tool that they could go out and work with their child.
Well, number one, it is never too late, and there is always hope. There is only really one finality in this life, and that's the end of this life. And I mean,
Yes.
if you're not there, then there is something that can be done, absolutely. And so, just having that hope for hope, right, that you're going along with. And on my website, under the resources section, there is the 5 things that your daughter needs right now and how to give them to her. That's a complimentary download and something I would really recommend. And it walks through those 5 pillars of worth that I talked about with that case study with Julie that I went through. But to be seen and heard and loved, belong, and have purpose, and how you can start doing that, just easy things, all from eye contact when they come in the room, right? Easy things that you can start doing today, tonight, even. And so I would recommend that download. And there's a master class on there, scripture journals, and several other resources that you can start using right away. And just if you just get on the email list, then I will be able to pour into your mailbox as soon as I'm done with my writing sabbatical, which should be done pretty soon. So yeah, just get on there and I will pour love into your inbox for you, your parenting journey, your child's childhood journey, and yours yourself.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And what are there specific social media links and things like that that people can find you at?
Yeah, that is all on my website. There's a community page on the website. So whether you're a YouTuber or a Instagrammer or a Facebooker, whatever you are, that can be on there. And I might be starting a Pinterest soon as well. So that is in the works, under construction. But yeah, and really when it comes down to it, and hope means action, right? There's always hope in action. So moving forward and really disciplining yourself so others don't have to. Discipline yourself so hopelessness doesn't discipline you, right? So
Right.
really making sure that you are always moving toward action, whatever that action is in the moment, be it big or small. There's always hope in action.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for coming on my podcast today. I really, really appreciate it. And I will add your website in the description. So thank you so
Perfect.
much.
Thank you. Thank you.